I know that both of us caught up on Appare-Ranman. I gave a little bit of
Yes.
a heads up to my enjoyment of the series in weeks past, but I know now you were also caught up. So maybe
Yeah.
overall, what you think of what you've seen since episode three. Um,
Um. So I'm really enjoying the ensemble. Like, I really enjoyed how I really like how each episode isn't strictly all about Apare and the crew. Like, everyone gets their time to shine. I really enjoyed Jing's episode. I really liked how the pit crew basically like admitted their faults,
mm-hmm.
and even how the owner basically was just like, "It's not that I thought you were bad, but this just isn't the environment for a woman because everyone's a misogynistic fuck." Like, I can't make money off of a woman beating men because people come here to see men beat the shit out of men in racing, not to see a woman. Like, they want to feel good about themselves. And I was just like, huh, okay. Like, I I get it. I actually get it. I love TJ. He hasn't even got that much shine yet.
TJ
I
is my
fucking
spirit animal.
Yes, like, and I was kind of nervous, and I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen when TJ and Apare get together. And he was like, "Yo, I like you," and I was like, "Oh, thank God! I wanted them to be friends." Like, it was and like Apare in his like typical fashion, it's just like, you don't serve me. Why are you speaking to me?
Right.
Like, what is going on? Um, Hototo, I loved the storyline that they like. That storyline is done, or I'm assuming it's done. Also, I already knew Homeboy was a Gil from when he first got introduced.
Yeah, I also felt the
It
same
was
way.
yeah, like it was just the way that at first I was like, oh no, he did that shit on purpose. But then he ended up being in too many places, too many times, coincidentally, where I was like, no. I was like, how come you're the only one that's not dead? I was like, this isn't making sense. I was like, you're probably Gil and you're on some bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And I was, at the end of this most recent episode, I was like, I'm right. Yeah, I'm fucking right. You are Gil. Who else? Kosame. I actually really liked watching Kosame like deal with his shit. But it was over the span of several episodes. Like, we saw a build up to it. It wasn't just like Kosame's gonna get over it immediately and become the best fucking samurai in the world right now. It was like, no, like he had to fucking just like face those demons, and he had to like see himself in Hototo and basically say, I have let myself get to this point. I can't let this child do the same thing. But he couldn't do it outright, which is something that I thought was really great. Where I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, I thought at that moment when they were all getting taken the fuck out, that he was gonna pop off, and I'd been like, "Eh, okay, cool." But he bitched out, and I was just like, "Wow."
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's a
wait,
the nice thing about it, and I would qualify it as it's a nice show. It
mm-hmm,
it cares a lot more about its characters than a show of its kind necessarily needs to,
yeah, the
because the
race is
show
kind of
could
in the
be
back
about the
burner.
race, but the show is
Yeah,
actually just about the characters, which is,
mm-hmm,
sounds like, writing 101, but in actual fact, like, if you were to watch the trailer, you would think that the hook is the aesthetic. The hook is the gimmicky nature of the race, or the technology, or the whatever it is. And instead, every episode you get presented with a little bit of understanding and often a lot of growth from a lot of characters. Most of them are incredibly likable for some reason or another. Even the
yeah.
more villainous, or like the race organizer, when he's kind of shown out to be a celebrity chasing fool who's willing to like put people at risk and like hire very dangerous
For his
people.
promotion,
Right, but his intent, because he's made to be kind of a goofball, is money. He even says in like the second episode or third episode, I'm not going to go back to just being a random engineer. Like, I'll do
mm-hmm,
whatever it takes. I'm trying to get to the top. But it's like, they're all their motivations, as wacky as the show is, are all very believable. And they do go out of their way to have characters admit that they are wrong. Whether it's
yes.
for something
Oh,
that they
Apare, that
right, or
shocked me.
especially that Apari. but admit that, like, an ideology that they had held on to was mistaken, and then actually explain a little bit like why they changed their opinion. I mean, obviously we see what happens in the story, but like, it's not jarring. It's not jarring, like as you pointed out, like the case with the pit crew. It would have been very easy to have the resolution of that story be that the pit crew are a bunch of misogynistic assholes who won't change their opinion. The owner of the raceway feels sorry for Sean and John, and then basically gives her the race car, and then Appare and her friends fix it up so she's got a thing to do. But instead, they went with a much more, I think, satisfying conclusion in that all these characters have lived lives before we got to the show, and it's pretty obvious that like she had relationships with all these people, and they thought they were good. So the payoff for the race was just us learning that in fact like these people are a little too afraid to go against the broader culture, not that they
Societal
themselves
norms.
are villainous or bigots or more so than anyone else, like
because that was the way that it was built up,
yes.
At least to me.
And that's what they do, and that's why I like the show. Why I think it's nice, because they swerve you, but they don't. They swerve you in little character-driven ways, not like big sort of narrative ass pulls to because that's what a lot of stories will do. They'll try to surprise you by just radically pulling something out of thin air.
Yeah, I am definitely like jaded as far as expectations of just like fucked up shit and like gore or something happening, because when Hototo like confronted Gil and the fake one like got on top of the car and like walked towards him with the machine gun, I thought he was gonna fucking like maul the kid or some shit like that, like out of nowhere. Like I thought it was gonna be bad,
right? And they just turned out to be a nice guy.
Yeah, which was also nice, but I was like, oh, are we about to get like a hard turn and just basically
the kick
like
the puppy moment where like the villain. Well, the thing is, I kind of assumed that there was something up, that because they were a little too, but as character, or at least the other brother, I forget, or whatever, I forget what his name is, but
yeah,
that they were a little too like nice, if that's what like
for murderous outlaws.
Yeah, for murderous outlaws, they didn't seem particularly murderous, and their outlawdom seemed mostly to be around like goofy traps. Like we're gonna slow everyone down, not like murder everybody. Where you'd think that if you're trying to set up a villain, you want to see him do some dirt so that at least you have some belief that they could harm the characters you care about. But they never really seemed like they were about that life. And I remember when they had that campfire scene that involved like the little mole thing or whatever it was. It was threatening, but it was like there was a point in that scene where I think one of them looked at the other like they kind of didn't want to get involved in like a violent act, and they were kind of relieved when it was done. And I was like, that's not really something bad guys would really do.
Yeah, they would have still shot him.
Yeah.
You're right.
So it was interesting. So I thought that overall for me, I like it because it is upbeat and colorful, and I'm watching these characters change in ways that make sense. And I'm not even sure I care about the resolution of the story because it's just enjoyable. Like I'm not necessarily like rooting for Appare more than I would any standard protagonist, but I'm more interested in finding out, more about him. I think that makes it, in a weird way, almost more of a slice of life show than what it sort of purports to be on the surface. So I'm enjoying it. I will probably continue to watch it.
I'm definitely gonna be tuned the fuck in. It's much more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be going into it. So I'm down.